What's good, guys? It's Master Chappie. We're back today looking at some more user skills, and today we're going to talk about pocket presence. Just going to give you a few tips, couple drills you can do, few minor things. Pocket presence is one of those small details that often gets overlooked. And then I'll kind of relate it to basketball. So first off, how I'm going to relate it to basketball is just ball handling. And, most of the elite players, anybody in the NBA pretty much has good ball handling, outside of the centers maybe. But, pretty much everybody has ball handling. And you'll see the same thing in Madden. Guys that have good offenses, elite offenses, really good players. It's just kind of one of those things you have. Either you've practiced it or you just, you learn it. Whatever the case may be, pocket presence is one of those things that can definitely take your offense to the next level and make you much more dangerous. And it's often overlooked, and there is guys with good offenses that don't have good pocket presence, but if they had better pocket presence, their offense would be taken up on even another level. So, the first drill I look at is learning how to dribble the basketball for the first time. You're young kid or whatever, your first time hooping. You need to learn how to dribble the ball. And what we're going to do in this drill is basically just sit in the pocket for as long as you can. You can start off with go ahead and start off with like a two-man rush if you want, something like this. And just kind of sit there, look at the pocket, and maneuver yourself as best as you can to not get hit. Now, I'm not going to run these drills effectively right now because I'm trying to talk and focus on doing that. And at the same time, I don't want the video to run too long. We could be sitting in the pocket for a few minutes. But the whole idea here is to sit in the pocket for as long as you can without getting sacked. And, that's going to eventually lead you to being more comfortable in the pocket, sitting there in the pocket, and just moving around. Now, a few tips I would say is stay away from the sprint button. And I'm going to go ahead and show you why right here. And then I'll point out a couple more tips as well. But stay away from the sprint button as much as possible. There is a few exceptions to when you want to sprint. If you see a lane, a gap, you have to excuse me, I wasn't moving the left stick. But if you see a lane develop and you want to just take off with the QB, go ahead and go for the sprint. But, outside of actually committing to the scramble, or there's another time you may want to just distract your opponent, make them think you're going to run it, just in case Holmes opens up and say they user Allen and then they want to take away Holmes. So if you take off with the quarterback, they might run at you, and then that might open things up a little bit more for your wide receiver downfield. But other than that, those are like the two times I would say you could use sprint, but other than that, you really want to avoid sprint as much as possible, and I'll show you here exactly why. So as you're going to see in this example, what we're going to do is we're going to maneuver, down the pocket and then back up, and that was with no sprint right there. So you're saying we were able to get the pass off right away. Now what you're going to see is if we go ahead and try to do that same thing, there's a little bit of a delay, and the pass gets much, much less accurate. Worst case, you could actually end up sprinting and trying to throw at the same time. And as you can see, the accuracy is just terrible, as it should be realistically. You're not really going to go off a full sprint, and be able to set up. So as you can see, you're just going to lose a lot of accuracy. And then the next thing is it's slower. So by you stepping up, sprinting, you're going to have to stop. You're going to have to replant your feet in order to regain your accuracy. So we got to stop there. And that takes about a second, maybe a second and a half, maybe a little shorter. But that little delay could be the difference between getting a pass to your wide receiver in open area, or him ended up being covered or getting sacked. Those small fractions of a second, although they often go overlooked, the difference between half a second could be the difference between getting a pass off or getting sacked for 5 yards. So, touchdown versus, a -5 or whatever the case may be. Just for examples, that's exactly why you want to have your pocket presence on point. Now, a couple rules of thumb I like to have is never, ever, ever, if you're in shotgun, go beyond 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So if you're starting at that 30, do not go to the 40. Beyond the 40. The only way I would say do that is if you plan on throwing the ball away, or if you plan on scrambling. But really, really, really try to avoid going past that 40. Honestly, I wouldn't even want to go back that deep. You want to stay within those first 7 yards, but sometimes you do have to step back a little bit. But try to keep that as an out-of-bounds boundary, or remind yourself as a boundary. Because one of the worst things you see guys do is they're trying to get around here. Now they're like 50 yards back, and you end up getting sacked. There's just no way you're probably going to get that first down. Likewise, another thing that can happen is, you think you see something open up downfield. Obviously, a fumble would be the worst thing, but you think something's open downfield, something finally does open up, but you're so far back that by the time that pass gets there, the guy ends up getting open. The ball takes longer to get there because it has to cover more ground, gives your opponent more opportunities to recover, and it also makes it a more difficult pass for your quarterback because he has to be a lot more accurate. So, just a lot of negativity from dropping that far back in the pocket. It is a habit that if you have it, you got to try to break it now. I myself used to be terrible with that. I used to drop back quite a ways, and used to get away with it in the older games. But with the new generation, you definitely want to avoid dropping too far back in the pocket. So a couple rules of thumb: if you're in shotgun, I would say try to stay 7 yards or closer to the line of scrimmage, and max out at 10. And if you're under center, I would honestly try to stay within at least like 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and kind of max out maybe at around 7 or 8. So I wouldn't want to drop back too far there. Now, there's a few beautiful things about under center that you don't necessarily get in shotgun, and this mainly has to do with edge heat, and I'll just point that out here. A lot of times edge heat, either the DN's going to come free, or this linebacker out here, or corner, or whoever it might be that they're sending. When they come in, it's at this angle right here. So they're going to come around the edge, and they're going to come here. Now, if you're under center, you can be up here. That's an additional amount of ground that they have to cover. They have to come down, they have to come back up and try to get you. Whereas if they just come down at this angle, they're going to be right at you if you're where Green is. Whereas if you're where Sanchez is at, there's a lot better chance of you being successful. But we'll go ahead and just run it here. We should get some edge pressure. If we drop back, as you're going to see, bam, we lose a lot more yards than before. And to top it off, we get hit faster. But if we go ahead and sit here in the pocket right up here close, as you're going to see, a lot of times you can pick up those same edge pressures, edge pressure, DNs, getting loose off of the tackles, all those sort of edge pressures that come with dropping back, a lot of those can be picked up. Another thing I would say is to work on your slide protection. If they're bringing heavy heat from the right, try sliding right. Vice versa for the left. If they're coming up the A-gap, maybe pinch or go aggressive or something like that. But mess around with it depending on what your opponent's doing, and kind of lab it a little bit. Figure out what's going to be best for you. Now, I talked about the drill earlier. Starting off with maybe 2-man rush. We're just going to go a little baby step more advanced now. We'll go ahead and start, and then you send a 3-man rush. Okay, and then once you're comfortable with 3, go ahead and send the 4-man rush. And then once you're comfortable with 4, send the 5-man rush. And then once you've got that down, you're comfortable in the pocket, you've been chilling, you feel pretty good, you're able to maneuver, staying away from that turbo button. That's when you want to go to the next step, and that's basically dribbling the basketball without looking. And at this point, again, you want to start. I'll probably start with 3 once you get the other one mastered. That should be plenty enough. Plenty few rushers. So start off with the 3 rushers and just look downfield. Instead of looking at the pocket directly, now the difference is you're going to want to look downfield while you're running the drill. And then once you get comfortable with that, go ahead and move up to 4 rushers. Then you get comfortable, move up to 5 rushers. And just kind of look downfield. Look who's open. And again, you're not going to throw the ball. You're just going to try to sit there for as long as you possibly can in the pocket. And, when I say pocket area, if you can stay within this area, if you're under center, if you can stay within this 5-yard, the boundaries obviously are a good parameter, but between the tackles and between that 5-yard mark or 7 in this area, you're going to be a lot better off, much better off than you would be in any other case. Just because, again, you're able to pick up the edge pressure, and say you do get sacked because of a block shed, you only lose 2 yards. You can definitely manage a 2nd and 12 it's not going to be the end of the world. Whereas if it's a 2nd and 22 or, you know, something like that, that's a lot more ground you have to cover up. So your 10-yard play that would have got you a first down before is now basically getting you into a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 10 situation. So mess with those 2 drills right there. And then the final thing I guess I would say to improve your pocket presence is obviously have some reads. Know your offense, be comfortable with it, know what you want to do, and know kind of which reads are going to be open versus various types of defenses. Because if you don't know who's open and you're kind of guessing right away, you know, it makes it a lot harder on yourself. So definitely try to always make things as easy as possible on yourself. So if your opponent's running the same thing, know who's going to be open. If they're changing it up, try to read their defense before the snap and use that. And hopefully this will help you guys with your pocket presence. Again, just a few keys is stay in the pocket, avoid the sprint button, and always keep your eyes downfield for as long as possible. And don't sprint until you really want to take off or unless you really have a purpose with your sprint. So these tips should help you guys out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it's getting a little bit long here, but you know, subscribe for more and leave a thumbs up. We'll definitely be getting a lot more videos out for you guys ASAP. And until the next time, this is your boy Monster Chappie. We gone.